right, yesterday was a really fun day here on the show. We talked about the potential Nick Foles trade, and Bill Polian basically said if he was the Eagles GM, he would not be answering the phone. But if he had to answer the phone, the only thing he's listening to is 2 number ones and 2 number twos in terms of a trade. So you got a lot of pushback on that on social media. A lot of blogs writing about it. A lot of people on Twitter going, Bill Polian is crazy. So here's your opportunity to explain why.
Well, it's not the first time someone said that.
Well, it was actually me tweeting.
Nor will it be the last.
Explain it more.
Well, that price is what was paid to go up and get Carson Wentz, Goff, and RG3. That general framework was the price. So if you're willing to pay that price to go up and get a guy that has never played a down in the National Football League, what should the price be for a guy who, as a young quarterback, had a winning record under Chip Kelly, and now, as a little older veteran backup, won the 3 biggest games of the year, including the Super Bowl? So to me, that's a fair price based on history. If I were on the other side of that phone and calling them, I know full well, regardless of anything I said, you better open with a 1. Number 1, they don't want to trade him. Number 2, you got to make it worth their while, and you better put a 1 on the table or don't make the call.
That's the only way you think the Eagles would even probably take the call.
Take the call is the operative phrase. Yes.
Yeah. But for a team that is looking to get Nick Foles, are you guys in agreement? Lou, I'll start with you. Do you agree with Bill that it's got to include a 1?
No question about it. And you know what, before you even sit here really and get all wrapped up about what will it take to get him, if you're going to enter into that realm anyway, as far as trying to pull him, get him off of that roster, the first thing you better do is, can you duplicate what they have in Philadelphia in terms of synergy between him and the play caller, the offense, the terminology, the weaponry, the defense, the special teams, Nick's level of comfort? Because I'm assuming if you're going to give up that, if Bill's answering the phone and saying 2 1s, 2 2s, or don't talk to me, okay? I'm assuming that if I'm willing to even enter into those kind of negotiations, I can set my guy up for the kind of you're trying to buy those 3 games, that kind of performance. Yeah. You're trying to buy the Atlanta Falcon game, the Minnesota Viking game, and the game against the New England Patriots. Otherwise, you don't even enter this realm, which I don't know how you can do. I don't know how you can guarantee that you can set him up like that for that kind of success, because to me, as far as what expectations would be if you paid that price, that's what you better get.
Yeah, you can't. And that's why I don't think there's any – I don't think he's going anywhere, because the price that the Eagles will demand is higher than what any team should reasonably pay for. Yeah. Because of what you're just saying. Yeah. When he had Chip Kelly and LaShawn McCoy and a killer offensive line, he had a monster year. When he had Doug Peterson and a killer offensive line and all the weapons the Eagles had this year, he had a great playoff run. You cannot be sure that that's what you're bringing into your organization. And if you're going to trade a first-round pick, you better be sure that's what you're bringing into your organization. Now, you talk about the first-round price, right?
People sure on RG3?
You know what, I was about to say. That's the interesting part, though, is that teams will be willing to do that for something that is totally unknown and unproven.
Because that's the way that teams operate. And you know this full well. That's the way teams operate in the draft. Nick Foles is 29. You're drafting a guy who's 22. You are willing to pay a little bit more, thinking what you can make him into.
Believe me, quarterbacks play a long time.
Nick Foles
has probably got 7 years left. That's probably more than
from the perspective of the acquiring team. That's why the younger player is more enticing, right? You still see more of his prime, and you can mold something. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's an apples-to-apples comparison when you talk about teams moving up in the draft, because of the way teams feel about draft picks versus the way they might feel about Nick Foles, whose career has had obviously some incredibly brilliant highs, but also we've seen him, have stretches where he didn't have.
You know what it's called, Dan? It's called arrogance.
Sure.
Is what it is called on the part of teams, that they'll be willing to do this for something that has never been touched, so to speak, right? A young player coming into the league has no kind of preconceived notions about how the game's supposed to be played, what he's been taught, has no relationships with anybody in the league. Teams always go, I'll pay the exorbitant price for that, because now it's all about me, the genius play caller, the genius quarterback whisperer, who I'll make him into that guy. With Nick, I can't necessarily do it, because he's shown me that he's shown me that he can do it, but only under certain circumstances. That's what it is.
Well, plus, the front offices are playing the market to a certain extent, too. I mean, you don't want to buy high and sell low. It's the opposite, right? You're buying high on Nick Foles if you acquire him now.
Buying high
He just won the Super Bowl.
You're buying blind on a rookie.
Well, of course, low.
Low,
Yeah.
2 1s and 2 2s.
Well, buying low. You have the asset is coming in, and it's at low value.
But you know,
can
but
make
no,
what you want.
but
I'm going to pay
I'm not arguing that front offices are all smart. Bill.
$60,000
but you know, no, but you know
for
what?
this
a
is
car
the way-
that's
but
never
you know-
been driven.
But
It's
you know,
the arrogance he's talking about.
exactly.
That's what drives it.
That's all it is.
Right.
That's all it is right there.
Yeah.
Because you know he makes a great point. The point is you're buying something I don't know. It has no
So
resume.
teams will go nuts to get at RG3.
That's right. Because
and then
every-
they'll be conservative on Nick Foles. And the right answer is probably somewhere in
Have
the
you ever
middle.
met an
Probably
offense-
shouldn't go that nuts to get RG3. And probably if you're a quarterback away, it might be worth a
Have
low
you ever met
first
an
rounder to get
offensive
Nick
coordinator or a quarterback coach who doesn't think that they can reinvent quarterback play?
Foles? Of course.
No.
They are.
Not a
that's
one.
That's the whole thing that drives
Not a
it,
one.
right? I can make this guy into something.
All right. And with Nick, it's almost like, well, you know what?
There have been very few coaches who thought that about Nick Foles.
No question.
One of them's coaching the Chiefs. One of them's coaching the Eagles. It may be that one is now coaching the Colts. You know,
It's
I mean,
not maybe, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
I'll tell you-
most of the league has not felt that way about Nick Foles throughout his career.
Which,
Yeah.
if I'm the rest of the league, just let him stay in
Who's
Philly.
got a ring?
He's got the ring, and
Just
most
let him
of
stay
them
in
got a
Philly.
ring.
Exactly.
Just let him stay
do
there.
not.
Yeah, so
Go pay up for your own.
All you Bill Polian haters out there, take that. All right.